What is going on, guys? This is roughly a quarter here, bringing you our first episode of podcast with Sean,
I
Alex,
Hello?
Ronan,
Bonjour.
and myself, Jinming. And today we have our special guest, Harry.
Hi.
So, yeah, the topic today is just going to be about the gaming community in general and how there seems to be a lot of toxicity in the gaming community, especially in competitive games. So, yeah, what are your inputs in that?
I think in general, I think any competitive kind of community, any competitive community, like even sports and stuff, there's actually quite a lot of toxicity, but I think it's way more evident in gaming because the fan base is objectively way more younger, and so they're way more immature.
Yeah, but then
And
I
they
always, why is it that I always see like 20-year-olds screaming like profanities on these
because they're
videos?
man-childs.
Fair
True.
enough.
True.
Because
I mean, of course, you also do see the occasional
you start
OMG beat this kid.
especially in professional levels, the age at which you start becoming a relevant person. You can be 15 and you can be like a superstar in in any game.
Yeah, it gets in
Meanwhile,
their
in
head.
sports, you know, you're still considered a youngster when it comes to any sports. If you're a teenager, but so many teenagers in esports, they're already big names in the community, and when they have such a big audience, they don't know, obviously they don't have any PR training or whatever. They just play video games, bro. They're not super athletes, and so they're bound to act children, when they stream, or when they're on stage. They're gonna do shit
Mhm.
shit talk, or the way they shit talk is just gonna be they're just gonna act like their age, and then
Yeah,
because they're also streaming to an impressionable audience of people of the same age or even younger. Those people are just gonna think, oh, this type of behavior is cool, or it's acceptable, or oh, my idol acts like this, calling people subhumans, and they do the same thing too in their games, and more people see this, and it just spreads more and more. Meanwhile, in
but
sports, because so many people who watch it are actual adults, and you have freaking 50-year-olds casting games. It's way more condemned in the way toxic behavior is condemned a lot more than in esports in general.
I mean, how many
eventually,
times do you see like old men on Twitter complaining, "Oh, this player did this celebration, man, so disrespectful, man. They have no class in this
Yeah,
game."
exactly.
Like you remember like Haaland when he did
The
trash talk
PSG.
PSG. Yeah, he trash
Yeah.
talked some up and coming football star like trash talk a team before they played. They got smashed. They got beat by that very same team. But everyone was like, he deserved what he got, man. If you trash talk, you're gonna get shit. So disrespectful, man. And, like,
Yeah.
really? It's just a
Like,
dude who's just like poking
for
fun,
18.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, in video games, you have people using way worse,
Funny words, yeah.
a lot more
Vanity.
funny words. I wouldn't
yeah,
call
a
them
lot more
funny.
profanity.
So it's
And
like,
it's still frowned upon, but just not by everyone. There's still whenever I see a scandal for a professional player or streamer, there's still
always
so
they
many
say
people
something.
defending him, bro.
Hmm.
How can there be people you remember Dubs, the Fortnite player? Does anyone know this?
No.
Could you
not
like
really,
brief us on
no.
this?
Okay. I'll tell you guys. There's
Is
a
it like a
Fortnite
heating
player.
gaming moment?
He wasn't streaming, but he was on his friend's stream, and he's a professional player for FaZe. He's
Yeah.
15 or 16, and he said the hard R on stream, and he got exposed, right? And
Mm.
there was still some fans in the comments defending him, oh, I don't think he should get any punishment for this. It should just be a good warning. No, he said the hard R on stream, and he represents one of the biggest organizations in the world.
Mm.
And
I
you
mean,
think
I
he
feel
should
like
get off with the punishment?
more like the moral question of like, oh, should you be able to say this? That like goes out the window when you're on that kind of platform, you know. It's like
Yeah.
people say, oh, I should be able to say whatever I want, but like if the president was like, hey man, fuck Nazis, he'd probably get shit as well. You know, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter if he's, you know, it's a free country. You know, you can say whatever you want. If you're representing someone, you can't say whatever you want.
So how much
Yeah,
do you
for
think this
sure.
like represents the image and like specifically the gaming community, right? Because for me, it's like when you look at it, the gaming community for a lot of outsiders, right, who don't really, I wouldn't say
Don't really
not even
know.
not, we're not that involved in it either, but to a lot of people, it's just a bunch of teenagers specifically, or just children, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That gets influenced by something or somewhere, and then we just say whatever they want, or even do some quite questionable things, right? So
Yeah.
where do you think
I
like
mean, because
yeah, so it's like
now you continue. You go on.
where do you think this influence mainly comes from, aside from these streamers and stuff? So like, is it their own ego that makes them like have this toxic personality, or are they literally just thinking that it's normal to do it in the gaming community because it's like, oh, it's a free place, it's just virtual and everything like that?
I think it's
Again, back to the point of Harry saying how they're younger. When you're younger, you don't really consider like the consequences of your actions, and you tend to become more angry. And I know I'm an exception because you guys can see me rage, but then like the like the yeah when you're like the typical demographic is like 13 to, let's say, 17, right?
the teenagers.
Age is,
basically.
yeah, that age is like hormone imbalance craziness, and you have video games to project some of that craziness onto. You're gonna get hell.
And
That's
like
yeah, that's my opinion.
it's like these because you're like these people never had like any PR training because they think they don't need it. They think, oh, they're just playing
Yeah,
video games, and all of a
yeah.
sudden once they get an audience, they're just still the same person, and they act like the same way they did it.
You're
Like
gonna
off
get
stream, when they're
flamed
on stream,
hot.
yeah, you're gonna get exposed.
But
Like I'm
don't you
pretty sure
guys?
like so many people out there, like so many like even athletes when they're in like on their own, right? They probably have like a lot of like, let's say when they're losing, they're probably really frustrated. They want to say something or do something to release that anger. Like that's why fights happen. But the difference is those people know how to like control themselves most of the time because they're actual professionals. But when it comes to like professional gamers, especially those like really immature ones, they don't know how to control themselves. So when they're angry, they're gonna say something that's not okay to say.
Yeah,
for,
when
like,
you're
the
angry,
position
you
they're
don't
in.
think straight.
Now the question is, are the orgs to blame sometimes? What do you
No.
guys think?
For what?
No,
No,
The
right?
organization.
actually,
Oh,
I mean,
I
well, how could like
partly,
you
partly.
partly if they don't
In a
like
sense.
if they
if they
don't
don't regulate it, then yeah,
no,
maybe.
regulate it, but like I mean like if they don't stress that there is a negative repercussion
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
do something like this. Like if
Like
I
I
was the
said-
head of an organization, like, if I was like, hey, if you say anything stupid, I won't be afraid to cut you off. Like
Yeah,
Yeah,
I agree with that.
yeah.
So like, I don't think the orgs have any blame in the situation because they can't really control exactly what a person says. But like Ronan says, if someone in your org does something that's obviously not alright and you're still okay with it, at that point then people are gonna question your org's values, and at that point then yeah, the org is to
Yeah.
blame. But until
And
like,
yeah,
like
it's
you said,
basically
they're
just
gonna
how
cut
you
them
handle
off.
it
Yeah.
after and before like the situation unfolds.
Yeah, to be fair, the orgs are doing a pretty good job at like, disciplining them properly and giving the right PR, like you
I
would
think
say.
they give the right punishment, but I think like even though they give the right punishment, like that like scandal or like some controversy, like that already happened. That already like
Yeah.
that still slightly ruins the image of the org, but so I
Yeah.
think like it could be prevented like just more background checks. Like Alex, you remember the Vagar V2?
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was a
Because
yeah,
he
that-
got exposed for it's not something he did recently, it's something he did like 2 years ago. And it was always there, like the tweets exposing him were like so old. And it only came into the light like a month ago. And like if Fnatic did proper background check, they would have known like the type of person they were hiring.
But to be fair, I think in those situations it's kind of like iffy, right? How long do you guys think it takes before somebody's previous actions are to be not really forgiven, but like you can brush it past, like you can move on from that? Like for example, James Gunn did something 10 years ago. 10 years ago is a long time, which is great. It makes sense that people should forgive him after 10 years. Like it's in the past, he's a completely different person, right? But then now you got Vega V2. This happened 2 years ago. He got kicked out of the
I'm
org and
gonna
everything, but is 2
disagree. In
years
fact,
enough?
sorry, but I would
No,
disagree on
no.
the fact that time is the factor you look at to determine whether or not you forgive the person. I think rather than looking at how long ago has the person done this thing, right? You should also look at, okay, from then on, did he change? Like, was there any change in the person's mentality? Did they grow more mature? Or it can be right after the incident where they realize like, oh my god, I really did something messed up, and then it wouldn't take 10 years then to be not exactly forgiven either, but if let's just say 10 years later he's still the exact same person as he was 10 years ago, then no, I don't think he should still be forgiven.
I mean,
Because
yeah, for sure.
that's like the point
I
I
think
was
the
thinking about.
big point is like, what was the thing that they did? Because if it's something
Yeah.
like, I don't know, sexual assault, I'm not gonna brush that under like, it's fine, bro. Like if it's something with
Yeah, I was low key
like
that though.
genuine
Yeah.
like genuine criminal activity, like I don't care how long ago it was, you should be punished under the full extent of the law. If it's still under that, like, what's the word? Like
Under
the time
the
frame when
terms,
it's
yeah.
the
Mhm.
time frame when you're allowed to. But if it's something like a harmless joke or like saying the N word on a tweet or something, man, I feel like this should be handled differently.
And it's back to like orgs and stuff. From what I understand, most orgs have been pretty good. Like what Harry said, I think most orgs just suck at background checks more than anything. Like they're really good at making sure their players, when they're in the org, are speaking well, playing well, and whatever. But they don't really look into people's past necessarily.
Fair, a
So
lot
kind
of people's past isn't actually like you can't actually look for it.
Yeah. Or would you say it's not that they don't do the background checks, but they were willing to give this person a second chance because there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes with orgs we don't know. So maybe at the time of hiring, it could be that they didn't do the background check, like you said. But I have a feeling
I think
it could be something like, all right, we see you did this mistake in the past, but looking at you now, we're willing to give you the benefit of the doubt that you're a different person now.
I mean, yeah, at
Because
this point
I
it's just
think I
being
think
subjective.
it's
You're
subjective, but I
saying?
also think like how far do they do their background checks, and how far should you do a background check? Because like I'll say it like this, right? If I was like a big hotshot esports player or whatever, right? Like I had a big contract and what I'd have a second Twitter account where no one would know who I was, right? And I could do some, what's to say these people who have like these massive contracts don't have secondary Twitter accounts where no one knows where they are, where they do like vile shit, where they kill their dog or something. Like, how can you put a background check on that if it's literally no one knows it?
Yeah, sometimes it's just it's too late, right?
Well, then you could argue that every person who goes for an interview would have to, like,
Oh,
because everyone does
I think
something different, and everyone has done something wrong. To judge your abilities, as for example, like a job, I think if you're just gonna judge him on one thing, of course, if you kill a dog, then you're a monster. But then if you do something that is quite harmful, but it's somewhat forgivable, it's different, I think.
and also I
Because
think
you can't
the
just judge it
orgs,
on, yeah.
like I think the orgs also like slightly care about how likely it is for that bad thing to be exposed. Like, sometimes when they do your background check, they probably do find something bad about that person. But like, I think a lot of them take risks because they know that thing might not be easily exposed, and like, they might not even hire people because like that person's like squeaky clean and is on like a moral high ground to like the whole community. They just really care about the org's public image, and so
Y-
that
But yeah,
person's
Yeah, but
like
then again, right?
wrongdoings.
With a lot of the background checks we're talking about is like, I agree that if it's like a criminal felony, then of course it's unforgiven. But generally speaking, how often is it that these mess ups that people in the gaming community make, right? Or in our context, if I want to talk about esports, right? How often are these things that have done bad actually illegal things rather than just they said something wrong, they were immature, they did something inappropriate, but not illegal. You know, you get what I mean?
yeah, they usually just say something wrong, right? But then, like when it comes to saying something wrong, like is then there's just a point about how the org acts. A really good example is so recently there's this team in the Overwatch League who Vancouver Titans. They're picking up their roster, right? And they're picking up a team
Yeah, I saw
called
that.
Second Wind. So they're picking up most of the Second Wind players, and they didn't pick up one of them because he was like a toxic player 2 years ago. Now, what do you guys think about that? Like, he was just toxic. Is 2 years enough to forgive that? Like,
Isn't
and the guy
that
said he was like reformed and everything. Like, you
isn't
know,
that org like uh under fire for like something else as well?
it's like the Griffin of Overwatch,
Because
honestly.
like then they fire their entire team.
I think from what I understood was like too many
And
internal
like they were a
issues.
good team, and they
Yeah,
fired all the players.
yeah. But then like when they're picking up their team, like so like back to the main point, they're picking up their team. The guy was just like one of the players from the contenders team didn't get picked up because of his past,
I
and the
mean,
past wasn't even that bad.
I mean, if in a business sense, they have every right to do that because you don't want to take any risks when you're doing that.
Yeah,
you know?
it's just how
Yeah.
it's just a decision making. Like I don't think it's wrong to not pick him up, but I don't think it was wrong to pick him up as well. It's just how they assess the risk. You know,
Yeah,
they
Yeah.
think the
like
risk is too high for them
it's
to
it's
pick
just
him up.
another one of
They
the
won't pick him up.
consequences that unfortunately came about because he did
Yeah.
whatever he did.
Like
Yeah.
it's just subjective, you know. Like I think, from what you told me, I would pick him up if I was like the CEO. Like from the only from the context you gave me, but maybe, you know, the guy who's behind the recruitment, you know, he thought like the risk is just too high to recruit him.
Yeah, because
Like it doesn't pay off, you know. Like even if like they don't think the likelihood of that player like 1v9ing every single game is going to be as high as like him getting exposed and ruining the public image of the
yeah,
organization.
Fair enough. It's
because the
like
problem with these is it's hard for us to judge what went through the decision making from these organizations. Because if I were to bring in like an example from the League of Legends scene, right? TSM, for example, they're one of the most renowned orgs in LCS, and they have their own share of drama and flag going on lately. But I assume like last summer when they announced they were gonna pick up Dardoch, for instance, who's used to be known as a toxic player. So at that point, there was this question as well, as like, was that the right decision? Because he's known to be hard-headed and he used to be very toxic. So at the end of the day, we don't know what went on behind the scenes that made them decide it's worth it to pick him up. Maybe he's reformed. Maybe it works. So at the end of the day, it just goes like what Harry said on how they judge the risk. Is it worth risking this chance of toxicity happening again for the compared to the chance or opportunity of him hard carrying?
I mean, it just seems like these things can't be made uniform. Like that's just something that will never be able to change. It's just
They're
gonna be
all
based on the decision maker
individual
always.
like situations. I
Yeah.
In
think.
this specific scenario, I think it's just really subjective. There's no like right wrong answer. It's just what the
Yeah.
org thinks.
Yeah.
I mean, if they're willing to invest, if they think he can really be a game changer, then I guess it makes sense.
Yeah.
And speaking of like pros and everything, right? So since we're on the topic of league, I mean, is it? I could be wrong, but I hear like a lot of high elo players complaining about like pro players just playing out being kind of toxic.
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
There is.
like
A lot of pro players are toxic.
yeah,
Like not the most
and
well
they
known
just get
one,
away with
but
it.
some of them are really toxic.
Like how do they?
I mean,
how do they
anyone in a
roll on-
there's like such a high competitive level, there's bound to be someone who's toxic.
But
Right, for
I
sure,
feel
but-
like
for there not to be someone who's toxic.
for you to be a competitive player, right? Because esports as a scene right now is growing so quickly. So for you to be a professional player, regardless of what team you're on, what tournament you're competing in, right? I feel like as long as you're labeled as a pro player, you're representing the scene already. So I feel like there's this like level of expectation and standards that should be set for pro players, where they need to realize and understand that if they are toxic, what about the people, the casual players like us, who then we're gonna think, oh wow, they represent a scene and they can be toxic, so why can't we?
Yeah.
And
I mean,
then
that's
it ends
why-
up to like the problem we have as the community in general, right? Not
They
just the
are-
pro players.
They are the role
That's
models.
Yeah.
that's why League is kind of toxic, because there's so many, not even pro players, like just well-known streamers with like huge fan bases that either were toxic or were known for being toxic or are still toxic, and their fans like project that behavior in their own games. Like just look at L9 for example.
You think
Like,
that's why like
They
they're
just
toxic?
ran it down and like were toxic, and they were known for being toxic, and like because they had a huge fan base, a lot of people in that fan base, started doing the same thing.
Yeah, I mean it's just unfortunate. I think is it really just a it's just a league thing if you think about it.
No.
No,
can't-
No.
definitely not
No,
just a
no,
league
no. I
thing.
mean, no. Wait, hear me out. No, what I mean is like, from
I love how we're
what,
like,
from what I'm trying to say, is that I feel as though League has like the most people with multiple toxic communities in that game. You know what I'm saying?
Have you not played
don't-
FIFA, my man?
I feel
I
like
guess not.
in order to rephrase your words, right, it's because League is one of the fastest growing esports in the scene right now. So, and us being, most of us in this chat right now being avid League players, we are exposed to it more. But I wouldn't call it League
Yeah.
only thing, because if you look at all other games, like as long as you're competitive, like Dota, Counter Strike, Overwatch, they're all. You ask the people in the community, they all tell you that their community is toxic
yeah.
as well.
I mean, yeah.
I
But,
think
I mean,
also
you know,
that
the grass
League-
is greener on the other side. You always think your community is the most toxic one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
League has a pretty young player base in terms of like fans and stuff.
I mean, you can't deny League still
Or
feels
like it's there's always new players for League, and even like the pro players are pretty young.
Mhm.
Like most of the vets, there are very little vets who are still playing the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah. League is
Like
just
people who
pretty
played from
severe
season
though.
1 are like only just pushing 30. Meanwhile, in CS:GO, most of the players are like late 20s. And those
Mm.
players are like proper. I wouldn't say like they're really mature, but they're adults now, proper
Mm.
adults.
They know what
I
they're
mean-
doing, like
Yeah.
to represent.
But it's definitely not just a League thing. Like
Obviously,
CS, Overwatch, even like Overwatch, bro. Like,
bro,
like, I
even the
don't know,
Pokemon
front-
competitive scenes.
Yeah, it's pretty toxic as well.
What, really?
Yeah.
Oh my god. My choice will flame yours! How do you
It's more like they're toxic in a sense where when you have things in League of Legends or Dota or Counter Strike where teamwork is the main factor, right? Pokemon is
more
like this
toxic for sure.
esport, like this competitive scene where it's completely reliant on your own ability. So the way that the
yeah,
scene is toxic is when people are sore losers, They cannot
Yeah, I
accept
mean-
the fact that they got outstrated, like they got.
so they can't accept that the fact that their team is just not that good.
Yeah, it's like a lot of people like. I'm not even talking about children here because the Pokemon scene is generally towards the young demographic, but
Mm.
there are the older bunch as well, which I'll classify as like adolescents or like young
It's called
adults even.
masters. It's called the
Yeah.
masters category.
Even then, it's like it's when you can't put blame on anyone in your team because it's not a team game, right? They end up shifting the blame onto the opponent, be like, "Oh my god, this is a cheese strat. You should not have won this." The toxicity in
I mean,
general
right
just
now-
them
right
not willing to
now,
accept
like-
defeat.
Right now, the Pokemon, like the meta Pokemon is absolute cancer. Like I don't know if you know much about it, Junming, but for some reason, like HP stalling with Blissey is like the main meta strategy at the moment.
Yeah,
Which
it's
what
like-
you don't know what that means.
it's just
HP,
like
the
the
Blissey
toxic
is like the
stall.
highest HP on a Pokemon, and basically what people are doing is just using him to stall for as much time as possible, and that's a meta strategy. Literally wasting the other person's time is a meta strategy.
Does it have soft boiled?
Soft boil or refresh,
Toxic,
one of those moves. Yeah.
protect.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Toxic. Yeah, exactly.
Toxic
They're
storm.
basically. It's called toxic. Yeah, it's called toxic stall. Funnily enough,
Yeah.
and like, yeah, all communities are toxic.
So
Yeah.
then,
I never
Yeah,
said it was
sorry.
exclusive to League. I was just saying I felt as though League had a really damn deep-rooted toxicity in just as the core of the game. It's- I don't know. When I first
no.
okay, let me explain, right? Because when I was like much younger, before I came into League, I and this is like just from my own opinion, from my own perspective, from my friends and I, when we heard of League, knowing nothing about the game, just like the idea of the game being toxic would be one of the main
Yeah,
things I
same,
would hear.
same.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean by why it's so deep rooted. It feels as though it's part of the game's name. Of course, every competitive game's gonna be toxic. Heck, I bet there's Animal Crossing players who are toxic. I don't care.
Yes,
Whatever.
they
yes,
are,
I've
they
seen
are.
Twitter.
Probably.
I've seen
Yeah.
Twitter.
What?
That's a whole different kind of
Yes,
toxic.
They
That's
are.
for League, it's part of its name, in a way. Of course, every
But
game
I
is
don't think it's more toxic than any other game.
yeah, maybe it's like a vocal minority kind of thing,
Once you
right?
actually start playing every single game like a lot, and compared to League, there's not much difference. You're playing with the same type of people, you know? Like CS, for example, Sean, you remember?
Yes.
I remember all that
The
random bloke.
NA game, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, dude, you needed to be in that game. Like, he was screaming at the top of his lungs, dude. Like,
No, he just-
slurs into the
He
mic.
just kept calling us ching chongs.
No,
Yeah.
there was one point he was so mad, like he was legitimately mad, like he was like gonna slam his desk. That type of mad, bro. It's not even like me being mad because my mid later didn't come contest Scuttle. Like it was legitimately mad, and like he's screaming slurs whole game. And
I'm
you know,
not
you
gonna try and play
Xbox
devil's
360 Call of
advocate here,
Duty.
but like, to be fair, we were silver 4 in an LM game.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
I
it's the
mean-
worst in League, and I don't
But that's
flame
not
that
our
bad.
fault. That's not our fault. Yeah.
I don't. I play. Look, I've permabanned 13 times on League of Legends. I've never gone that mad. I've never seen somebody get that mad in League of Legends.
Yeah, I mean,
But like,
can't
yeah,
really
like
tell.
I
Live
know
play.
every other game there's someone flaming, but it's like, I'm just saying that every other game has this.
yeah,
then
for
it
sure.
it brings me to this question, right? It's just face it, right? It's impossible to ever solve toxicity because there's just these tough people in the world. But to what
course.
extent do you think this problem of the toxic image in the community can be ever so slightly uprooted, if you would put it that way? I mean, just
What do you mean by
aside from
that?
the game's reporting system and all, because we all know how bad that is. So
What do you mean uproot?
I think it's quite hard, to
You
be
know,
honest.
before
You
we're
can't-
saying
You
a
have
lot
to
of
change
people,
human nature.
yeah, a lot of it comes like human nature, right? But like we were talking before on how a lot of toxic streamers or pro players, they have that fan base that follows them, right? So in another perspective, do you think if the games were to have a more strict, how to say, regulation of the people that represent them, you think it will reduce the amount of toxic people in the community by a large margin or just like a little bit because it's human nature again?
Very little. Because
Little
bit.
there's always going to be new players.
There'll
who
be
play
some way
games.
to, and there'll always
Yeah.
be some way for
Unless every
toxic.
single toxic streamer is either reformed or removed. Like, okay, like not removed, like
One or the
banned
other.
from that game. As long as
Removed.
they're part of the
Removed.
community, as long as they still have an influence, as long as they
Executed.
still have a fan base, there's always going to be new people coming in to the community that are going
I mean,
to following that behavior as
if,
well.
if, let's say they did bump up like let's say I do say I flame, okay, and then I get permabanned. What's gonna stop me from just making a new account?
Yeah, Harry.
Depends on the
And then,
game, though.
and then
Yeah,
repeating the
nothing.
process over and,
honestly, I
over.
feel like
Like someone here.
permabans are like, I know this seems pretty biased from where I'm coming from, but like the thing is, I think permabans only increase your frustration. You know, like
Yeah.
it's like I'm not a person who intentionally flames and runs it down to get people to get banned, right? I'm not like porn star Zillion doing that shit on purpose. I'm flaming because I'm mad at the game or I'm mad at people at the game because I'm trying to win. I'm trying to play the game properly, and some people or like some factors inside the game is making me mad. That's why I flame, right? And then they permaban me because I got frustrated. And now I'm gonna come back to the game even more frustrated because they fucking stopped my progress. Not because I'm trying to ruin people's like game experience, but because I got mad that because I'm trying to win.
It becomes an endless
more
cycle.
like more punishments come, the more frustrated you're just gonna get. Like look at Tyler 1, you know?
Yeah, I
He
mean,
never
that was just
like he got permaban 22 times and he was one of the biggest streamers and he never got over it because you know he just kept getting more and more mad every single time he got banned. Like the feeling you get when you're permaban is like you just lose all your progress for what? For trying to win. It's like kind of like a
It feels like
censorship
counterintuitive.
thing, you know?
Yeah.
And it might work for some people. Like, let's say you're trolling, you're having fun trolling or something, and then they ban you for trolling, and you're like, oh, maybe I shouldn't do that anymore. But like, if they ban you for essentially trying to play the game properly, and you just got mad because of it, you're just gonna get more and more mad when they permaban you.
you
Mm.
feel as though they
Yeah,
should be a bit
yeah.
more forgiving, depending on the context, right?
I don't know. It's just
I think
because
that's the problem
if
with
you
large games though, because just face it, it's gonna be super hard to moderate that many games at once to understand the context of each game.
I mean, maybe
Yeah,
eventually.
it's a
Eventually.
very hard system, but honestly, like I understand that it's very hard to make a really good like report and ban system because I like honestly I've never seen one work properly before, but at the same time, I think like for every single game I've played, or at least every online competitive game I've played, like Overwatch, CS:GO, League, those three, especially the report and ban systems in those are just complete dog shit. That's just my opinion. Like they don't work at all.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate. I still think as though give it a few years and Toxicity is obviously still going to be there. It's going to be running strong probably, but we might have a different way of regulating these players, you know? So we'll just have to wait and see when it comes to that.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
I mean, besides that, what do you guys think of the League community actually?
I
whoever
can't
plays League is
vouch for.
losing.
I can't vouch for.
If I speak,
Wait,
if I
Harry,
speak.
I think Harry, since you're our guest,
Harry
you
will
should
have the
have
most
a lot to say.
qualifications among us. Yeah.
I don't know. What do you want me to say about it? Like,
I think we can avoid talking about the gameplay, more about the player base, right? Something
Mm.
simple.
I mean, as the second most beginnerish player here, right? When I started, I tried the solo queue because I thought, oh, I'd match it with my elo, and then I played Tristana, and I died like 14 times. I think I got 0 kills. And obviously, if you're playing like with someone like that, I'd get frustrated too. But I repeatedly told everyone, I warned everyone, I am a completely new player. If I do bad, please forgive. And then he was like, as long as you don't play shit. And I don't know how to define playing shit.
works.
Well, I died like 14 times. Every death was, what the are you doing? You know? And then instead of saying, oh, you should have maybe done this, you know, don't do that. Instead, it's, what the are you doing? This Trist is so apt. Please report this guy. And so, oh shit.
Okay, let me.
In my opinion, if that's all I'm gonna face when playing a new game, I might as well not play. You know?
Okay, let me reiterate it. It's more. I think the better way to say it is, I feel as okay when it comes to playing games. Part of my enjoyment is the community itself. There's obviously the good and bad of the community. We discussed the bad. So what is the good of the community? For example, in League of Legends, what is the good in the community that makes you like, yeah, this is why I play this game. You know, there
When
must
you
be like
when you
some
when you
Oh,
pull
this
off
is very hard.
a
Let me try and
deserved
think.
victory,
Let me try and think.
when you
There must be
when
those
you pull it
moments.
off,
Okay.
There are very. I think there are a few times. This is like a really like small thing, and I think it's a thing that's universal for like any team-based game. Like that feeling when we just really have four players. You know that you're just on the same page. You all want to win. You're all trying your absolute best, no matter if someone's playing shit or not. Like you know that. You know we're
Yeah.
working as a team here, and like it feels so good when you pull off like a win from those type of games. But that goes for any game for me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
agree.
I completely understand. That's definitely like a core feeling I have when I play Overwatch or play like CS with you guys.
Because like
That happens like, all the time.
even in my context, right? For me to enjoy a game like League, like I've been playing League for about 6 years now, I would say. And then one of the best feelings in the game is not necessarily when you win, but when you get to play a really high quality game and all 10 players in the game are trying their best.
Yeah.
There's no toxicity. There's just we all want to win, and at the end of the day, we lose because they were better. It's not because oh we lost because we had someone trolling or we won because they had someone trolling. But it's a really high quality game where it's just like, you know what? All 10 of us tried our best. GG, you were better. You won. You know that type of feeling. That's
I
what
mean, the
keeps me
higher
hooked to this game. You know.
the higher the elo you are, the more frequent those games become. But yeah, I think that's a strong
Yeah, I feel
thing
like,
to say.
and because it's a team-based game,
Hmm.
if you have like even just one person who's like playing playing for fun,
It's
you're gonna
all
get
crumbling
frustrated
down.
so easily.
Yeah.
But if I
Yeah, I
know
mean,
like every other player on my team, they're trying their best. They want to win. They want to win just as much as me, then I'm happy. Okay.
Yeah, some people just don't act for their according to the game mode, right? You have people sweating in norms, and then you have people in rank just sitting back being stoned.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm like
the worst,
literally
the
every
worst thing
time
is when they're like, dude, this is just for fun. They're like, well, for
yeah, like
me, maybe it isn't.
I know, like when I play norms, I try hard. I try hard, but like it's because I want to win. At the end of the day, this is a PvP competitive game. I think it's fun if you try to win. I
Yeah.
don't think it's fun if you try and like find other forms of fun, like I don't know, just run it down, like not run it down, maybe like try some like troll build in norms and say, look so funny guys, so funny, look static shift on fresh, so funny. I got one shot
I
by their
mean,
fucking
I
teammate.
wouldn't discredit that play as well, but again, it goes back to if you're gonna do that, it's only fun for everyone if they're all on the same page on it, you know?
Yeah, exactly. This is my problem. Like when four people on your team is trying and then you just lose because one player on your team's fucking trolling. It's the most frustrating thing. It's like I'm gonna have to name drop Jonas here because like whenever me I used to play with Jonas and Ivan. Jonas would always do this type of shit. Like me and Ivan would load into the game thinking, oh, we're just gonna win this game. We're just gonna play normally and win this game. And then Jonas will come up with some troll build and start trolling for no reason. And then we lose the game because of that, or like we start losing a bit because he's trolling and he's like the only one on the team who's not trying to win. It's just frustrating because you know that you could be doing better as a team. It's just that there's one person who's not trying their best.
You had
Yeah.
to let it out eventually, huh?
Yeah,
It's fine.
Exposed.
We've all had that
Exposed.
experience with.
he's done it
It's
too
a
many
story
times.
for another day as well.
I mean,
to
how
be
many
honest.
times did Jonas just quit games without telling anyone?
No, he loves his goofs and gas in his games, that's for sure.
Oh,
Ronan.
he's also.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't say that.
Wow.
Oh, I didn't say that.
Ronan, speaking of FIFA, what is the community like there? I'm actually curious. What's it like?
No, it's full of kids, man. What do you expect? It's full of literal
I mean,
kids.
it's filled with kids who have access to their mom's credit card, and
It's also a
It's-
community that I find gets pissed off by the simplest of things.
I mean,
'Cause
because
I
they're
think,
children, right?
no, I think for games like FIFA, and like sports games in general, it's a more like I don't want to say this word, but like it's more for like the quote unquote
Casual.
I was
Yeah,
gonna
the
censor that word.
yeah.
We can censor it. We can
Yeah,
censor
I
it.
don't
It's
want
fine.
to. I didn't want to say that word, but
Well,
I don't
casuals
know
or
how
normies?
We'll
normies.
censor both. We'll censor both.
Oh.
Casuals is
Nah, it's
like,
just gonna
'cause-
sound like I'm gonna censor it so it just says like you can just hear N. And it's just gonna make it sound so much worse.
Yeah, it'd be
every
funny.
every
just
noun
don't
is
quote me on it.
now
I don't want to be
censored.
heard saying the word normie because it sounds like such a sounds like such like a
A
4chan thing
cringe
to say.
word,
Like
such a
yeah, it's
Reddit
such a
word.
cringe
Yeah.
word.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least you didn't say
I
you
just don't
didn't
want to
re
say.
you didn't re
But,
it, so it's fine.
but the thing is, it's the truth, right? Because
Mm.
most like for example, jocks, they play
Yeah.
sports, but the video games they play are probably like FIFA and
Call of Duty.
2K and NFL and stuff like that. And so like they're less connected with like the rest of the gaming community. So like the league community, for example, I mean, probably less people who play FIFA and 2K are like that, and they're more of like a different kind of community. And
Yeah,
the way
but
they act and like the things they say.
it was made for them anyways, so it's
Yeah,
their
Oh,
own
it's made for
ecosystem.
sports fans. It's a sports movie. It's a
It's
sports
their own
movie, sports game.
ecosystem. It's their own ecosystem, so it's fine. Let them do their thing.
I think FIFA can be such a fun game as Jimming and I would know.
Yeah.
Like,
Those
if you play
FIFA's
it-
fun if you have no
Those are
idea how to
fun games.
play.
not only that, it's when you kind of know how to play, and no matter what happens, you take it for a laugh. Like if you hit the post,
It's like,
you
oh
can
come
laugh it
on!
off-
Hit the
you-
post
you-
again.
laugh it off with your friends. Like, but if it's like Ultimate Team where it's kind of something kind of on the line, then you feel like shit, man, the world is against me. But if
Well,
you
no,
play
because then it just once you get into Ultimate Team, then it just becomes any other competitive game format. You
yeah,
know?
pretty much.
When any game becomes competitive, that's when you get more serious.
Now, there's something I find interesting, right? Because the gaming community is so wide in all types of different genres, right? What do you guys think, in general, are the main differences between competitive games, the toxicity, right? In games where you're relying on your skill and strategy alone, like StarCraft, Pokemon, FIFA, compared to team-based games like League of Legends, Counter-Strike, Overwatch. What do you guys think are the main differences between the types of toxicity and like the source of it, so to quote, between
Oh,
these
but
two
I think-
genres?
Very
think,
difficult.
I think
I'm sorry, but I'm
in
quite
general-
confused by the question.
you
Okay,
say it
so-
again, and I'll say it after you say it again.
And like to paraphrase it, right? It's like there's team-based competitive games like League of Legends and Counter-Strike, and then there's this type of competitive game like FIFA, Pokemon, where it's more of your and StarCraft even like it's more of your own personal skill and your own
Also, like solo
strategy, yeah,
and
solo
team
style.
games.
So
I
like
think
yeah,
toxicity is pretty much the same. It's always like
It's also about
player
skill.
who's being toxic is always gonna blame external influences. You
That's
know, like
It's
if
never
it's in a,
me.
if
It's
it's in,
you.
if it's in a team game like League, you know, then you're gonna be like, oh, my jungler ended me or some shit, right? That's how you'd be toxic, or like you're gonna say enemy players playing like such a pussy. But if you're playing like, I don't know, Pokemon, you're also gonna find some sort of like external influence. For example, like, oh, you just happened like a lucky RNG. Look,
Or
at the
you're
end
being
of
More
the
like
day,
team strats than
the
RNG.
toxicity
RNG
stems like toxicity stems from trying to avert the blame from yourself.
I mean, if you want a more specific answer, like what Harry said, it is averting the blame on yourself, but you're also nitpicking the core mechanics of the game that you're playing. For example, in Smash, right? You'll be saying, "Oh my gosh, how are you like win this game? Your DI is so bad." To quickly explain, DI is just how you try not to get hit, you try not to die, basically. So if I'm getting hit to the right, and if I move my controller to the opposite direction, then I won't get launched any further. But yeah, it's just like those things, right? Those core mechanics in games are really what stems, I would say, original toxicity. People get mad because they miss input. People get mad because the characters they're playing, who's meta and everything. And then it starts developing to more real world things where people are just saying things where they're inappropriate. People in those communities are doing terrible actions and so on. But at the end of the day, toxicity, I would say, stems from the game itself. Just what the things in the games which the player themselves think, in their opinion, sucks.
I mean, then it's like it's even fair to say, like for toxicity, right? Because to me, even then, it's like there's a split. You know, there's toxicity that's like completely unneeded. Like you said, you know, you just needlessly bash the other players, your teammates, or whoever. But then, what about those people that are toxic, but they're toxic just because they're just desperate to win and improve rather than trying to berate other people.
That's just character.
then
I mean,
But if you can, you shouldn't have to resort to telling people off. Then, if you're honestly and genuinely wanting to get better, if
I
you
mean,
are you're 100% focused on it, you should have no excuses. Like I mean, if you want to be like some best in the world, they don't go around and say, "Oh shit, man, the game's always against me."
Yeah, but there's still a lot of people who aren't best in the world, but are pro players and stuff.
Yeah.
So, like quote unquote good players. Like obviously you won't see like fucking Faker be toxic because he's Faker.
Faker's a
Like
killer
it's
dude, I
completely
think.
completely different thing. But like you were talking about like complete and not like randoms, but like pros that aren't like superstars. Like it's really common for them to be toxic because I don't know. I think it's I won't say it's acceptable or like it's right, but I think it's really normal.
It's
for,
the
like,
age.
even
It's
people
real.
at high skill levels to be frustrated and then try and like blame it on anything but themselves.
It's just the age as well. I mean, like we
Yeah,
said
it's
earlier, they're just
they're
rowdy with their
acting right.
hormones.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not really their fault. It can't be helped. It's just depending on how can you learn to have self-control, have discipline. That's just a skill you develop. It's not your fault necessarily. Is what you're doing right? No. Can we blame you? Not really. Depends on the severity of the situation. But people learn, people develop, and that's how we get less toxic people. But then at the same time, we get more toxic people, and it's just a cycle.
It's just a vicious cycle.
I guess like
It's just a cycle.
at the end of the day, it all just comes down to our ego. As long as you have that ego in us, we're more or less all of us are toxic to a certain extent. It's just how far we bring it. I would
Yeah.
say.
Because there's sometimes when you you could have done better, and you know that sometimes it's just bullshit. Like in your mind, it's such bullshit. Those
Yeah,
moments.
because
Every time I die,
I think we're all guilty of this. I wouldn't say we're toxic people in general, but there will be times where even we, maybe we have a really bad day or things are just not going well, and then sometimes we would be quite toxic as well. As in like, maybe like Harry said, there's someone running it down your game. Instead of constructive criticism or just muting them, we will say some really mean things as well. Like, but at the end of the day, it's like how often you do it and how far you take it. I would say.
There's a point
Yeah.
where people just get clouded by their emotions and
Yeah.
can't see what's obvious.
there's a difference between like kind of trash talking and like seriously disgusting behavior.
I would draw the line of disgusting behavior or unacceptable toxicity at the point where you start bashing people that are not involved in the incident. Like the most common ones we see, like the childish ones are like, oh, I F your, whoever,
Screw your mom, like
Yeah,
your
like,
mom.
For me,
Yeah.
that's like really unneeded because, okay, I
When
get
they
it.
bring
That
personal
guy's giving
things
you a bad
into
time in a game, but why is there a need to drag someone else into this matter when it's that one person that's making you feel like you're having a bad experience,
The
So I think
pressure of
for
playing
me, that's
bad.
where I draw the
One
line.
suffers, they all do.
It's the
Yes.
pressure. It's the pressure. If it's your fault, if you contribute to the loss, which by the way is inevitable, if you lose a game in a team environment, of course you contributed to the loss, and some people just can't accept it. They just can't.
Yeah,
accept
especially
it.
when you're at a higher skill level. You start feeling like you're really good at the game, and when you feel like you're better at the game, you lose track of reality, and like you can't believe, like you just can't like handle the fact that you might have been wrong.
It's
You
it's
you
like
keep thinking
we're
like,
in
no
this-
way
in
I
this
was
cloud.
wrong there, dude. Like I'm perfect.
Speaking from my own experience, there's like two ways of how people handle these type of situations. It's either like what we discussed, where toxic not blaming other people, not themselves, or they do a whole 180 and they just blame it all on themselves. And as someone who's very familiar with doing this to myself all the time, it's something that a lot of pros you would see do. Like they always do self-blame anything because they're taught not to blame other people, so they're focused on blaming themselves. And what do you guys think about that? Is that any better?
I don't think
Or-
it's right.
No,
It's not any better.
No.
there's
'Cause
always
it-
a balance.
because-
There should be a balancing thing. If
Yeah.
you're blaming others too much, then you're toxic. But if you're putting too much blame onto yourself, right? It's not only self-deprecating, but let's just say in a general team context, it helps no one because
Can I
Yeah.
say- can I ask a
unnecessarily crush
question?
your own confidence, but no one else is improving from it.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Go for it.
What are your thoughts on me saying your mum every time something bad happens?
Wait, what?
What?
What are your opinions on me saying your mum every time something bad happens?
It's not like you're actually thinking of like your mom, but it's just oh, it's just a moment of frustration. Like, your mom, it's the equivalent of saying, oh, fuck! You know?
I feel like for
True.
us, I'm not sure if this will sound hypocritical, right? But we're not public figures, and we never say it directly to other people. You know, it's always within ourselves.
Yeah,
that we
yeah,
say
you
it.
don't,
I've
go,
never actually,
Sean, your
I've
mom!
never actually, yeah, I've never actually wanted to insult someone's mom.
Yeah, so
Yeah, it's like, Sean, your
in,
mom,
in
Jimmy,
that
your
case,
mom!
it's not 100% toxic because the other party does not know, and it's within our group, you know, and no one else is seeing it in a normal context when we play together. It's within close quarters and all.
But the
So,
damage is done.
The damage is not
Yeah,
done to the
damage
other
is done.
the
I
person
said your mum.
inflicted, you know.
Maybe if you
You're still-
typed it personally to them, like on the all chat, then yeah, sure,
Yeah,
that's
then that would
pretty
be really
bad.
bad. But if you say
But
it
then
among
if
the context,
you die, you're like, oh, your mom.
Yeah.
Then, yeah, whatever.
Yeah,
Whatever.
sure, you avoid hurting.
I just feel like it's. I feel like your mum isn't actually an insult. It's more just a reaction like phrase. Like
That
like
phrase-
like someone
yeah,
said
it's
like
your
instead of
reaction
oh fuck,
phrase.
it's like your mum.
But I don't know when it would,
Especially in the
it would
UK.
apply elsewhere.
I feel like in the UK it's
Does it
even
really
more of a
not?
reactionary
So
thing.
if I saw involved in a car crash, I would say, oh fuck, but I don't think I'd say, oh, your mom.
Of course, no. If I feel like it's just everything that's a minor inconvenience, you could say your mum too.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't have enough money.
Piss
Your
off.
mom.
Yeah,
Take this.
Oh, piss
Yeah, that'll be
off,
the name of our
yeah.
podcast. Your mom.
your mum podcast.
Piss off.
Your mum and your mom have got two different like feelings.
Very
Your mom is more insulting. Your mum is just God's sake.
It's, you know, at the end of the day, I feel like it's still not recommended behavior, you know. But then, so long as we don't go out of our ways to really bash that person out front, you know.
I'm not gonna personally go out of my way
Yeah,
to
exactly.
call you. I'll say your mum.
It's not like
I feel like once it hits that point, fair enough. You know?
then that's fair enough. Then that's, you know, that's really bad. But then most, like in our cases, right, 90% of the time it's within us in a group, and then the person that, you know, maybe triggered it won't even hear it from us because we're not going to say it out loud to them nor type it out loud to them.
Unless we're
type it out
flaming
loud,
each
but yeah.
other. Unless we're flaming each other.
Yeah, but that's a different
I
story.
feel like that's
That's a
like
whole different
friendly
story.
banter as well, you know.
Has it ever gone
So
really
what'd you
bad?
peek? What'd you
Has it
peek?
ever gone bad?
I don't think so. Maybe
What?
I'm
What?
pretty sure the
I didn't hear-
closest
I
we've
didn't-
ever gone somehow
What
is
did you
always
say?
related to Jonas.
Oh wait. What I said was like, sorry about the mic quality. What I said was, has it ever gone bad? Like,
Has what?
I
Has
once
what?
got really pissed at Sean once.
yeah.
But that's probably the furthest it's
Has
ever gone.
what? What do
Yeah.
you say?
Toxicity, has it gone bad before, like internally?
But to be fair, like I'll admit that
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
really unnecessary because I was just really fucking tired.
But honestly, for me, like for me only, I can't speak for anyone else here, but when I get mad like at one of us in a game, it ends like right after the game.
Yeah.
I agree
Like,
with you on
for
that one.
example, like after the game is over, like I'm not mad anymore.
I
'Cause
feel
I'm
like
I mean, there's no reason to.
yeah,
'cause the
we get
game's over.
frustrated during the
I- I-
moment, but
I was
we know how
only
to
mad
split it,
at
you
them
know.
because of the game. I'm not mad at them because like they're them. I'm just mad at them because
The
they did something
person.
in the game. Yeah.
Yeah, my professor told me this one time, like earlier this semester. He said something along the lines of, when he doesn't like what you do, it's not because he doesn't like you as a person. He just doesn't like how you write. I think that's just something to keep in mind with many things in life, and like with gaming, like just people don't really, especially with a group of friends, when we get mad at each other, it's not because, like what Harry said, it's not because that you're an evil human being or anything. It's because you just played terrible at game. And it's
You're
whatever.
You're an
Don't
awful
play the
human
game
being for
anymore.
eating my game. You violated the Geneva Convention.
There's some wisdom right there. I don't know if that's
Wow.
of any use.
Whoa.
Deep.
Very deep.
Yeah.
I'm Alex, and this is deep.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Harry with the profile pic change. Okay, mid podcast.
What you change
mean-
it to? Oh,
So is it fair to just like to sum
I
it
don't
up?
know.
You know what we talked about today.
Is that
It's-
Ruka?
It's basically
No.
just
No.
it all just comes from our own ego, basically toxicity, and then there's just
Egos.
there's
Yeah,
not
I
much
guess,
you can do to solve it because at the end of the day, it's human nature.
No
but
one
then
can solve it.
It's
No,
just
there's
yeah,
no way
try
in
to
hell.
control. People should just try to control themselves more in a sense, I guess.
Just don't say your naughty poo poo words, guys. Okay, don't say those.
I think you say don't say you're a nonce.
I thought you were going to say the other N word.
one
Oh,
one last
wow.
thing.
Yeah, don't say that either. Don't,
Don't say that
either.
either. No,
Okay.
by no means you should ever say that word.
I think if you guys want to wrap this up, I think one way we can, okay. One way we can wrap this up is what has been your most favorite game experience so far?
Well, of all time, Jesus.
Playing with
All
friends.
Tough game.
definitely.
That's
No,
a tough question, man.
in competitive gaming.
In competitive gaming,
What's been your this
I mean,
experience is
I have one on top of mind, so if you guys don't mind, I'll go first.
go for it. Go for it.
Ironically, one of the best experience I had in a competitive game was a game where I lost. Because it's a really fun, like not really fun as in I remember every specific detail, right? But it was a game of League where, like I said, it's those high quality games that all 10 people are just in it. They just want to win. They're not trolling. They're playing their best to win, and then it was a back and forth. We had leads here and there. They had leads here and there, and in the end, we still lost. But then, why enjoyed that game specifically so much was even after the loss, right? It was a rare moment where you had people in the post lobby, right, just congratulating. Oh man, you guys played this part really, really well. That we lost. GG, well played. You know, if we didn't, and then the constructive criticism part was when they mentioned, like, okay, maybe we should not have gone for Barony. We should have pushed. We should have done this. We should have done that. And you know, it's just one of those games where the win was celebrated well enough, and the loss was taken with stride, and be like, okay, we should have done this better next time. Then everyone just moves on to the next game. Like, no bad feelings. It's a really good quality game.
So for you, League of Legends has been quite a thrill ride.
That
Is that
that
the
was
way
one
it's-
of my most enjoyable moments in gaming. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty solid.
for
Everybody
me,
else?
I think
Okay.
it has to be when we're 5 stacking in any
Of course,
game,
yeah.
like with
Yeah,
friends.
pretty much.
I never really have that much fun when I solo queue, unless I meet someone like that I want to play with in that solo queue game.
Hmm.
Because normally, what ends up happening in solo queue games is that like either I win, but then I don't really find it fun, or like I lose and I get tilted. But when you're with friends, you know, you're with friends. Like that on its own is already like fun for me, and it's a good experience. I don't think I could choose one, but like any time we like have a lot of people playing together, then that's the most fun.
Like you're
Especially
gonna have a
when
good
everyone-
time.
Like I'm playing with you guys, and we're all like on the same page. Like whether it's having fun or like we all want to win, as long as we're all on the same page, and that's
I think it's just general playing with friends is the best feeling in the world. Nothing can beat that.
Yeah, solo
for
queue.
sure.
Yeah, solo queues will never be as fun.
Yeah.
I used to like
think-
solo queuing,
It's
but then
basically like a
I
chat
just-
roulette thing.
It's just that if I ever had a
Yeah.
moment close to that one, it would be that one moment. But generally, I guess we can all agree playing with friends is the best feeling ever.
No, the best competitive feeling I ever had was when me and Harry played against Harjot or Reeb, one of them, in FIFA.
me.
How about you,
We
Sean?
all entered.
I don't know if it's the best, but it was just hilarious because there's a FIFA Online 3, and it's not like regular FIFA where, I mean, because FIFA Online 3 you have players that have over 100 rating, so it just shows how ridiculous it is. So I was just solo queuing just for the lulz, and then I came across this guy who I think my squad was 95, I think, and I think that's pretty good. I went against a guy who had like 110 rating, and so it's like, packed with insane players, legends. You got like 120 Ronaldo, for example, right? And so
Fuck me.
yeah, so you think, oh, I'm gonna be screwed. But I tried to tell myself, you know what? Why not try to go for it? Just try. You never know what's gonna happen. And then so I thought, how am I gonna win this? How am I actually gonna win this? So what I decided to do is play 5 at the back, and if I score 1 goal, I park the bus, and I did that for the whole game. And the funniest moment was afterwards, because the moment after that, he typed in all caps, "Are you happy now? Are you happy?"
You played 5 at the back, though. You played 5 at
And
the back.
it's obvious why. Yeah, it's obvious why you'd say that because I I feel like a complete bitch.
Yeah,
In the end, I won. That's the most important thing.
you're a toxic FIFA player, man.
I beat like a rated 110 guy with a 95 squad, so I think I deserve some recognition. I think maybe that's my greatest gaming moment.
Yeah, for me,
Yeah.
my favorite gaming moments, besides like playing with friends or playing like really competitive games, it would be just learning the game from the beginning. Those moments are just irreplaceable. That honeymoon phase where you're learning a game is just amazing. Like
No, when
recently,
you can tell you significantly improved.
yeah,
Yeah,
and then when
yeah.
you're improving every day, like for example, Rocket League. Me, Ron, and Daryl, we've been playing Rocket League tons recently. Well, not really that much, but like quite a few days in a row sometimes. And that game's just really fun. And then next day you learn about how to get goals in the air, how to defend, maybe some small positioning, how to manage your boosts, and it just goes on and on. It just gets really fun. And no matter what competitive game I play, the beginning of that game, learning the game is always the most beautiful part about the game, in my opinion.
Wow, that's
It's something you can never get ever again.
Mhm.
So that's
Like
football
2016
documentary.
Overwatch, 2016
Yeah.
Overwatch for me was godly. Just it was amazing. Just learning how to play Reinhardt, learning how to play Lucio, trying out DPS heroes here and there, trying out different team compositions, and trying, oh, will this hero work against this hero or whatever? But now, like once you learn the game and everything, you get a new type of fun. Playing with your friends or playing amateur or whatever. That's like the next step. But in my opinion, nothing will ever beat
yeah.
the beginning. That is just too
I mean, if
amazing.
Valorant's coming out soon, and we're just gonna get the exact same thing.
We're gonna get that same euphoria. Yeah.
I mean, this will be the first time ever I feel that I've gotten into like I'll start a competitive game the same time every one of my friend group does it.
So we're like,
Because like whenever I
World of
start a
Warcraft.
competitive game, I'm like the last one to join.
Yeah, true.
I mean, you only started playing with us in CS.
But
That's
then
like,
everyone
well,
else apparently was playing CS like ages before me.
yeah, but we were
Like,
all
No, I
me-
played after you started, Ronan.
Yeah, but yeah, me, Jonas, and Sean are like the second generation, you know.
But you three
Yeah,
are doing great for yourselves. I'm just
Bottom frag all day.
no, you guys are doing great for yourself. Like no, like jokes aside, I've said this before, but I still think Jonas is like the best out of all of us as of now. And Ronan, you're doing pretty solid. I'm not even joking. Everyone's doing solid. Sean's doing great too.
I'm
I'd say
retired.
different. I'd say different. I'd object to you calling Jonas the best out of all of us, if I'm honest.
Yeah, you
I'll give the
forgot
title to
Daryl
Daryl. I'll give the
Yeah,
title
you
to
forgot
Daryl.
Daryl. Please,
I
bro.
forgot.
Played, Alex.
Daryl and Jonas is pretty close in my
Daryl
opinion.
just
in my
sometimes
opinion.
scares the shit out of me after
I-
he shoots me.
I have
His
faith in
own
Jonas.
teammate.
The only thing Daryl has is bunny hopping. That's it.
No,
That's
Daryl's
an
not.
advantage.
he actually,
That's an
like,
advantage.
Really good with the op.
No,
The
Yeah, I think
experience.
if Daryl was
movement.
to be the type of guy
if
to
you told
part of
Daryl to
his
try
career,
hard,
he would be
as hard as
unstoppable.
possible, he would win.
He would destroy.
Yeah, sure. I still think Jonas is pretty up there though, in my opinion at least. For sure.
Nah, you need to watch more games. Trust me.
You need to watch
You need to
more
watch
Jonas
more
play.
games.
Jonas
Yeah,
pops
'cause
up
you-
once every now and again.
We play with him every game. You play once, twice a week.
The number of times I've heard Ronan say, "Jonas, don't peek," and then ensuing, you see the kill feed, headshot up.
And
Oh,
CS:GO,
I'm fucking fuming.
CS:GO and low elo is such a luck-based game. I'm not even kidding. Like the amount of
Really
times I've seen
fluctuates.
a shit player on my team get like a
can say
4K
Jonas,
out
but
of
don't worry.
nowhere. No, like I'm not not even kidding. Like like the bottom frag we always flame when we're
Yeah,
format
yeah, yeah.
queuing. Like he'll get like a free K out of nowhere, but then if you actually watch the free K and you
It's
see how he
complete
got
luck.
it, it's like how did he even get this? Like he'd be moving every single shot. One of them he would have like 2 bullets left and like he'd be jumping and somehow get a headshot on the first bullet. Or like the guy he's facing who has like 40 kills and like has 100 scores suddenly decides to miss 4 shots in a row on him. Like it just doesn't make sense.
Maybe I'm a bit too nice,
I
but
know.
that's just how I am, honestly.
So I guess that's how we're wrapping things up, huh?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean,
Fucking
sounds like-
Jonas.
Yep. Jonas is ending,
sounds
and
like a
then
way to end.
I guess this is the our first official episode. We're gonna stop it here,
That's
and then
Pretty
yeah, I
crazy.
know if anyone's listening, feel
I
free
feel
to
like one thing we
drop
need
some
to do next time
criticism.
is like, nah, never mind.
So it's like until then, this has been roughly a quarter. See you guys next time.